It's been said that Turin is the most underrated city in all of Italy. And after living here for 6 months, I'm starting to see why. You get incredible food, deep culture, rich history, and you don't get the crowds. If people know anything about Turin, maybe it's because of the famous Shroud of Turin kept in the church right behind us, or maybe the Winter Olympics in 2006. Turin has over 40 world-class museums and over 180 cultural sites. There's so much to see and do here, and we wanted to go beyond the top 5 Google searches. Over the next 7 days, we're going to visit 14 museums, from the royal opulence of the Palazzo Reale, which is right behind us, to the underground tunnels of Pietro Micca, and even inside the unsettling history of the Lombroso Criminal Museum.
We created our schedule based on visit 2 museums per day, one in the morning and second in afternoon. I chose the museums based on their location in Turin and time of opening to be comfortable to visit 2 museums per day.
If you want to visit Italy and avoid the crowds, or if you just have a couple days here and you want to narrow down what to see, or if you're just curious about what else Italy has to offer, this video is for you. Andiamo!
We are in front of Musei Reali di Turin, or Royal Museum of Turin. This is a big complex of different museums in heart of Turin. Once it was the royal residence of House of Savoy. Now it brings together library, armory, gallery, museums of antiquities, and the Royal Palace. Also includes the standing chapel of Holy Shroud.
Just finished up in the Royal Palace. You can spend all day there, easy. I'm super overwhelmed sometimes when I go to museums like this because there's so much artistry and craftsmanship. It's just amazing. Some of this stuff is, hundreds of years old. Some of it's more recent, but all of it is done with excellence on a level that is just beyond me sometimes.
So we couldn't visit all of museums because Armory and another part of antiquity museums was closed for renovation. They said December will be open, and we hope. Library also is part of museums and it's free entry. If you don't want to visit all museums or you have just few time, you can enter. This is a palace, and here on first floor library and in second floor armory.
Italy is world famous for its coffee, espresso, cappuccino, and Lavazza is one of the most famous brands in Italy. It was founded right here in Turin by Luigi Lavazza in 1895, and it's still a family-owned group. So we're curious to just check out a little bit more about this famous brand. It's not your typical museum where you have horses and armor and battles and castles, but it's still part of the history of Turin, and we're gonna check it out. Andiamo. finished the Lavazza Museum, and I will say it was a big surprise. It was way more interesting and much bigger than I expected, and we spent much more time there than I expected as well, but I was pleasantly surprised. I guess the thing I like the most is it's an incredibly interactive experience. I wasn't expecting that, and good job, Lavazza.
This museum is not just about of brand Lavazza, but in general speaks about story of cafe. You can smell, you can try. After you have degustation, you can try. This is a very pleasure surprise in the end. They do a tasting, always with coffee, in everything, cocktail with coffee, chips with coffee. Yeah, we saw in this screen exist cup. You can drink coffee and after eat cup.
Yeah.
So Lavazza, I can say, be able to create whole world around coffee, not just only coffee. They created culture. They created characters, old calendars, different stuff, different merchandising. So yeah.
If you're in Turin and you have, I would say, a couple of hours and you like coffee, come here. You will not be disappointed. Okay, so now we're at the Villa della Regina, and this is basically a beautiful palace that was built, started being built around 1615 for the Savoy family. And it's called Villa della Regina because it was a favorite, I guess, resting home or a palace for a lot of the queens. The queens love to come here to get out of the city, and like the Museum of the Mountains, it sits on top of this hill overlooking the city, and it's quite beautiful. And the shot is a little bit blocked now with all these trees, and it's quite beautiful, but I imagine that back in 1615, these trees probably weren't there, and you can literally see the mountains and all of the city from this location. We're going to explore. This is also my first time coming to this palace, to this museum, to check out how the rich used to live back in the day. So we finished with Villa della Regina, and our first thoughts afterwards. For me, I love coming to these palaces because at least for a couple hours, I feel like royalty. I feel like a king. There's always great history, always interesting art, but there's a couple things about this museum / palace that I really enjoyed. One, there's one specific room that I fell in love with. It's probably my favorite room that I've been in all these palaces that we've been in. Do you know which one it was?
Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna put it in the B-roll while we're talking, but that's the one. Do you know which one?
No.
Okay, no, it's fine. You'll see with everybody else which room was my favorite. Oh my goodness, it was so amazing. But I really like these palaces. My favorite part about this palace specifically is the garden and nature. I love the green and how there's all these little hills and fountains and everywhere. And I also like it too because they already put this palace on top of a hill overlooking the city, but it seems like there's always one more level. They have like a terrace and you can go on top of the terrace, but then on a terrace they have a building, and then on that building you can go on top, and there's always extra spaces where you can get just a little bit higher and a little bit higher, these little retreats. And it's just special. And I also really like there's a vineyard right behind us. You can see it. There's a vineyard where they actually still make wine from this place, which is really special. I would also like to try some of this wine when we get a chance.
Yes.
Yeah, this place was stunning, and of all the palaces and stuff that I've visited in the 6 months I've been here, this one is probably up there as far as one of my favorites.
I like too about this museum, about this palace, about this garden view, because in past they knew create beauty, and you walk here and your eyes smiling. It's very symmetric. So yes, it's created like amphitheater.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yes, it's always beautiful inside. It's not too much big, so you can see this museum in 1 hour museum, and after walk in this beautiful garden.
Yeah.
There are benches, you can sit and admire this view.
We are in front of MAU, Museo di Arte Orientale, one of the most important collections of Asian art in Italy. It features works from 5 main areas: South Asia, Japan, China, the Himalaya region, and Oriental countries. Museum is located in Palazzo Mazzoni. Originally, it was a textile industry. After became some kind of port, and in the end, they decided to collect all Asian art in one museum, and from 2008 become museum.
So we finished our visit in Museo Arte Orientale, and my opinion, I like what their first floor, it's always dedicated to temporary exhibition, and every few months they change. So every time we go, we find new things. There are also a garden, but it's created in Japan style. So I like this. I like this about this museum. My favorite floor is with Oriental countries.
This museum I have been to before, and it's neat to see the changes that they've made. The featuring artists had some really interesting pieces, and then some stuff I really didn't like. And there was just some stuff that was a bit disturbing, but that's art. In general, I really like this art. I love Asian art, and the fact that there's so many different types of pieces from all over the world or all over Asia is really interesting. So it took us about maybe a little more than an hour, and we were going slow because we were filming. So you could probably do it in between 45 minutes and an hour if you take your time, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. Definitely I recommend if you like Asian style art. Okay, so this morning we're at the National Alpine Museum, or Museo Nazionale della Montagna. And like the name suggests, it's basically about all things Alpine. I love the location of this museum because it sits on top of Monte di Cappuccini, and it offers an incredible view of the city. Originally, this was established in 1874 by the Italian Alpine Club as basically an overlook of the Alps, the Italian Alps, also as an observatory. Over time, it turned into a museum for mountaineering, specifically to Italian, and then eventually evolved into mountaineering for the entire world. I personally love to hike, so I'm excited. This is my first time to this museum, so I'm excited to check it out. So we just finished in the museum. It actually wasn't as big as I thought. There's technically 4 floors, but really 2 floors for like display stuff. On the 3rd floor, it's a terrace so that you can get an even better view than what's behind us right now. And then the basement floor was like a moving exhibition where this time they had something about this adventurer named Walter Bonatti and some comics that he created. So that was really interesting. My favorite things about this museum are just the view, because we have an amazing view from here, but you can go up even higher in the building and get an even better view. But the other thing that I really liked was the story about Walter Bonatti. I never knew who he was, and an amazing Italian alpinist, adventurer. I don't know, I would love to see a movie about this guy because he seemed incredible. He had all kinds of adventures. Almost doesn't seem real, but there's tons of pictures and stories and news articles about him. He's a real guy. Anyways, those are my favorite things.
I like it too. This museum in general, I like museums. Absolutely terrace, most attractive place, but this is not a museum, but yes, because you can see all mountains, and now we are in autumn, winter. I think it will be more beautiful, ancora più bello, more with all white mountains. In general, yes, I like it. The museum, it's very simple, very Sì,
Yeah, if you're to come and visit, you can get through easily in less than an hour. If you just kind of come look, we were here a little bit longer because, of course, we were filming a little bit. Yeah, you can come and go in less than an hour unless you want to spend a lot of time looking at the views. On to the next one.
We are in front of Palazzo Madama. This is a civic museum of ancient art from 1934. Here you can find 2,000 years of history and artistic heritage of Turin and Piedmont. The palace is located in the center of Turin. Originally it was a Roman gate to the city, then a residence of House of Savoy, and finally first headquarters of the Italian Synod after country's unification.
So we just finished our visit to Palazzo Madama. What can I say? This is another point of view on the city because there are towers and in one of two you can go up and see a city. I would like a map of this museum because it's a little confusing. Because you enter in one room and you can't go out, and after you take stairs and you take wrong stairs. So I would like a map. For the rest, it's interesting museum, particular because there are a lot of religious objects, painting, ceramic, clothes. It's a piece of history, and probably what I like more about this museum is Palazzo, palace, because here it's very beautiful stairs, hall entrance, all these rooms. So this is my opinion.
For me, this is a very classic museum. I enjoyed being able to go up high into the towers. It's a big museum. I like that. There's lots of rooms to explore. There's lots to see, lots of very diverse artifacts. I really like that it's built on like a Roman foundation and they have the floors that you can see through where they actually built on top of this old Roman gate. In general, though, it's a really big, in my mind, what I would consider a classic museum with lots of different historical artifacts. So if that's what you're into, come check it out.
We are in front of Museo Nazionale dell'Auto. It has one of the oldest and most significant car collection in the world. Founded in 1933, it includes more than 200 original cars from 80 global brands. So this museum is located in Turin because in Turin in 1899 was founded Fabbrica Italiana Automobili di Torino, Fiat. So Turin became automobile capital of Italy. The Times newspaper included this museum in its list of 50 best museums in the world.
We just finished Museo dell'Auto. It's always interesting to study another piece of history. This time was about automobile industry. I enjoyed the Formula One room the most.
I'm not a car guy, but I still really enjoyed the museum. There's an unlimited number of designs and ways that you can design a car. And I think my favorite part was the design room, where it reminded me that there's so much engineering that goes into a car just to make it go, but also there's a ton of design that has to go into make it comfortable, safe, and good looking. So I enjoyed looking at all the different types of cars, but also really enjoyed looking at all of the thought process that goes into making even just one car. So one thing to note about this museum is it's pretty big. We spent easily 2 hours here, and we actually went pretty fast. So if you really are into cars and you want to know all the history, I would set aside at least 3 hours if you're really into cars and you want to read all the stuff. But you could probably spend all day here if you really were into it. So one other quick tip about museums in general in Italy is some places you can take your bag, some places you can't, but a lot of them have lockers, and some of the lockers, they require you to put like a euro coin in, and you'll get that coin back when you exit. But just a tip, make sure you have change with you so that you can pop a coin into the locker so that you can secure your bags if you need to. We're here at the Museum of Pietro Micca, which was opened in 1961. It commemorates the Battle of Turin in 1706 and specifically honors Pietro Micca, which was the hero of that siege. And basically, there's a network of tunnels, or there was a network of tunnels up to about 14 kilometers all throughout the city. The French were attacking Turin, and Pietro Micca, basically, he blew up one of the powder kegs that blocked off the entrance of one of the main tunnels to access the citadel of the city. He's considered a hero of the city, and this museum is dedicated to that battle and him. All right, just finished up the Museum of Pietro Micca. It's a guided tour. You pretty much have to have a guide because you're going under these, basically underground to these tunnels that were created back in the 1700s. My initial impressions were it's a great bit of history of this city. Sometimes I don't like having guides because I kind of want to do my own thing, but this one really caters to having a guide. These tunnels are pretty extensive. You easily get lost. You really do need a guide.
I like this museum because it's unusual. You go underground 7, and after you go deeper 14 meters. It's a very impressive story when wife of Pietro Micca remained alone. So this widow wrote letter to king saying, now I am alone with a little child, and she asked help. Government decided to give her for all life, every day, 2 pieces of bread. So this was a pension. It was a lot for this time. Yes, it's an interesting way to discover history.
We are in front of Museo di Antropologia Criminale di Cesare Lombroso. It's an archive of history of early criminology, founded in 1876 by Lombroso. He was a professor of University of Turin. This museum demonstrates his now discredited theory of born criminal. Its collection includes around 700 human skulls, face casts, criminal tools, and objects crafted by prisoners.
We just finished this museum. This is a very heavy collection. I think this kind of museum needs to exist to remember of mistakes in the past. So it's good to study, to know history of errors of past.
For me, I think it's, even though this guy had wrong theories about what makes a criminal, after going through the museum, I do believe he was coming from a good place. He was a doctor. He really did believe in what he was doing. And I think he was trying to help humanity by figuring out what makes people do bad things. And try and remedy that and protect society from criminals. But at the end of the day, it's like Ellen said, it's a heavy museum. We couldn't film a lot in there because there's a bunch of skulls and body parts. And they told us we could film anything that's like inanimate, but any body parts, because there's like bones and faces and stuff. They asked us not to, which I completely understand. I definitely don't get like the warm fuzzies after going to that museum, but it's an important museum, I think, and it's still well done. All the museums that we're visiting during these 7 days have all been a very high quality, even if the subject matter is a little bit macabre.
All right, we're here in front of probably one of the most famous museums in Turin, which is the Egyptian Museum, and rightfully so because it houses the largest collection of Egyptian artifacts outside of Cairo, Egypt itself. It's also the oldest museum dedicated purely to just Egyptian artifacts, founded in 1824.
We just finished Museo Egizio. So I have been here several times. And what disappointed me, it's what they changed a Sala di Faraoni. Before it was dark with mirror glasses. So you enter like in Cosmo. So yeah, you enter and you don't see end. It was endless, something magic. Now it's all with light, bright, very sterile. For all other, it's a great, big, very big museum. Speak about vast area of time and land.
Yeah, this is my second time in the museum and it is massive, so definitely mark some time to go see everything. It's an impressive museum. I did enjoy it this time. There were some new things that we saw this time that we didn't get to see last time, and they're still working on new stuff. And I highly recommend coming here. If you're only going to see one or two museums and you're interested in anything about history or archaeology, this is definitely the one to go to.
Right now, we're in front of Palazzo Carignano, one of the most symbolically important buildings in all of Italy. It was commissioned in 1679 by Prince Emanuele Filiberto. It's considered a masterpiece of Baroque architecture. Today, it hosts the National Museum of Italian Risorgimento. It was founded in 1878 to preserve and tell the history of Italian unification.
All right, just finishing up at Palazzo Carignano, and we kind of had a special tour. It's not the normal Museum of National Risorgimento, so we got a little bit of a behind-the-scenes view of some cool stuff. I liked it. Like I said, I think at another museum, guided tours are not my thing. Normally, I like to kind of do my own thing. And this one was more where I would have preferred to kind of do my own thing. Having said that, it's always cool to get a little bit deeper story and history about the building and the family and the architecture and things like that. So I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed to listen a story about kings, about first king of Italy. Here was first parliament. Here was born first king of United Italy. It was short, guided visit, and I enjoyed.
Okay, we're here at the prison Le Nuove, which basically just means the new one. It finished construction around 1870, and it was called Le Nuove because it was basically the new prison. It took about 14 years to build, so it's massive inside. It finally closed its doors in about 2003, and it's most, I would say, infamous because it was used during World War II. It was kind of like an arm of the SS, the Nazis, and they held Jews here. They had like internment camps just like they had in Germany. Eventually, obviously, after the war, it became a prison again. It stopped functioning mainly as a prison in 1986. From 1986 to 2003, it still was a women's detention center, and they had prisoners here on what they call semi-liberty, meaning people could go out and work and do different things, but they had to come here and sleep overnight. Today, it's a little bit cold and muggy and rainy, and it seems like an appropriate weather to visit a serious museum like this.
So we finished to visit this particular museum of prison. This is really particular. It's a guided tour. It brings to you very strong emotion. Guide speak about very short period during Second War. Two things I would like to remember. When we entered to prison, guide asked us, what is first thing we miss? And nobody could answer. And this is a freedom. So now we all take for granted our freedom. And the guide asked not take for granted freedom. And another thing, what I liked most, this sentence, we need to remember past to not repeat in future.
I don't really have much to add. It's a heavy museum. It's weird to say I enjoyed it. I think it's important. So I think with that, we're done with today. Two heavy museums we visited today, but still important history that we shouldn't forget. One quick thing we forgot to mention in the intro is that this is actually 3 museums. So there's 3 guided tours. We only did one. We did the prison tour, and it was almost 2 hours. They also have another part of the prison, which is like underground. And it was where they basically put people to just, I guess, put in solitary confinement, like under the prison. They also did it for anti-air raids so that when there was bombings, they had a safe place to go. And then there's another part, it's a church. It's like a church that had special importance called Il Sacro, Il Profano. So we want to come back at another time and visit those, but this was almost a 2-hour museum, and having gone to another one already, we're kind of tired. And honestly, I've had about enough heavy topics that I can handle for one day. The other important thing to remember about this museum is that it's a guided tour, and then you need to book your tickets online before you come.
All right, this morning we are outside probably one of the most famous buildings in all of Turin, Mole Antonelliana. Don't ask me how many times it took me to say that name because it's very difficult for me. But anyways, this houses the National Museum of Cinema. It was founded in 1958. But it's only been in this location since 2000. I'm really excited because I've been here before once and I spent about 2 hours here, but it was not enough. Another interesting thing about this building is technically it's the tallest museum in the world because of the huge spire that's up there. And I'm also excited because last time I was here, it was closed, but now it's open so you can actually go up to the top. So we'll get a really cool view from here. All right, we just finished in the Museum of Cinema and we had a great time. I loved it. The new exhibition was different. Do you remember the guy's name that was featured in there? Okay, I don't know. It was a photographer slash cinematographer that I don't remember, but he was really popular in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, right? So it was a lot of like experimental stuff and it was interesting. And I'm fascinated with all of the work and invention and innovation that goes into cinematography and filmmaking and pictures in general. So they always do a really good job. It's always very colorful. And I'm definitely looking forward to coming back and looking at the next exhibition.
So I have been in this museum several times, but I always like because every few months new exhibition, new temporary exhibition, and this is interesting. They are part of history of cinema. Particularly of this museum is elevator which bring you up, and this elevator made of glass, so you can see all around how when you are going up, and there another beautiful view of city, another spot to admire Turin mountains and see all other spots like Villa della Regina, Museo della Montagna. Un museo interessante. This is an interesting museum. We are in front of church, which name is St. John the Baptist, where is located Holy Shroud. Below the church, there are museum, Museo Diocesano, which was opened in 2008. Here you can find the remains of 3 early Christian basilicas. Also, visiting this museum, you can go up to this 15th century old tower bell. And this is another beautiful view to admire Turin.
All right, we made it to the top of the bell tower of the Church of St. John the Baptist with the Shroud of Turin. It's a really cool view. We've had some really awesome views of the city. Yesterday we were at Mole Antonelliana and we were up at Villa della Regina. And this is just another interesting perspective from the city, and it doesn't get old every time we come up here. I suggest, as the museum guide suggested to us, that you come up the bell tower first because there's no elevator. So it's a bit of a hike. There's how many stairs?
206 stairs, and the tower bell high 63 meters, but point view it's located on 43 meters.
I highly suggest that if you do come to this museum, go to the tower if you can make it up the stairs. Okay, we just finished up with the Museo Diocesano and another really cool surprise. This church right behind us, the Church of St. John the Baptist, we actually went under it, which is really cool, which you said in the intro. And it was really neat to see the remains or the like ancient artifacts from the 3 older churches that used to exist, you know, in the, I guess, 13th century or 14th century before this church was built.
So inside this museum, all objects is about church. And I really like it, this mosaic, which name is Fortune's Wheel, which represents map of world, and in the middle, wheel of life, born, life, dead. So I like it, this.
And there we have it. We spent 7 days visiting some of Turin's cultural gems. The key takeaway is that each one of these tells a unique story of the history of Turin. It's a place of contrasts, grand royalty and dark history, innovation in cinema and cars, and the quiet beauty of the Alps in the distance. So, is Turin Italy's most underrated city? Well, I can't say. I haven't been to all the cities in Europe, but what I can say is it has a lot to offer without all the crowds and the prices of some of the more popular destinations. So we'd like to hear from you guys in the comments, which of these 14 museums was your favorite? For me, I would say where we're at right now, Villa della Regina is one of our favorites. I really enjoyed all of them, even though some of them were a bit darker than others. They all have something really unique and interesting to take away from it. So this is one of my favorite places because it's just as good as some of the more popular museums, but there's almost nobody here. It's quiet, it's beautiful, and I think I said this earlier in the video too. Every time I come here or somewhere like it, I truly feel like a king. I can just sit and look at the city from up above while it's quiet and enjoy its magic.
We were able to visit all these museums thanks to this card. You pay one time per year and you can visit all museums in Piedmont and Valle d'Aosta, these two regions in Italy. So we have still a lot of museums to visit, not only in the city but out.
So we got this museum card in March, and it's now November. And just to give you an idea, it tracks, all the museums that we've visited, and we've visited 36 museums at this point. So even if every museum that we visited was only 10 euros, which sometimes they're more than that, that's 360 euros right there. And we only paid 55 euros. So some places we've visited more than once. For example, we've come here, so we haven't actually visited 36 museums, but almost. We've probably visited about, I would say, 25 museums, and we've revisited multiple, but that card is definitely worth it. So bonus tip, if you're gonna come here and you wanna visit museums, at least I would say 4 or 5 museums, or you want to visit one museum multiple times, get that card. It's completely worth it.
Or if you know you will return to Turin, or if you like museums and you live not in Turin but you think you can return to these regions,
To Valle d'Aosta, right?
Valle d'Aosta or Piemonte, this card is very useful.
So thanks for joining us and for making it this far. If you did, we have plenty more adventures like this coming up. Also, if you have suggestions for us, if there's things that you want to see us do in Piemonte, Valle d'Aosta, or just in Northern Italy in general, let us know. But we'll see you guys in the next one. Ciao.
Ciao!